guys, today we're going to be looking at the CGSulit CG680 Pro and the iCarSoft CR+. And these two are DIY focused scan tools. So they're not the stuff that you'll find in a sort of mechanic shop, but they'll definitely do the job for stuff that you have to do at home on your cars. So we've got the iCarSoft CR+ here, and it comes in a nice soft case. But you can see the CGSulit here comes in a nice rugged hard case. That'll be good just to put in your garage and leave alone, whereas this might get a little roughed up in the garage, but I think it'll do the job just nicely. So we'll take a look at the components here. So they all come with the same sort of equipment, and they're around the same sort of price range. We're looking at the sort of 300 to 400 range, but these two are around the sort of 350, 320 mark. So we've got the CR+ here, and that comes with our OBD2 adapter. And it also comes with just a micro USB cable, and that helps us with kind of operating the device outside of the vehicle because they don't come with internal batteries. And also transferring data to computers so you can read the sort of data afterwards. So you see this device is sort of horizontally orientated, and it means you've got the sort of two-handed operation of this. So we'll look at the CGSulit now. And it comes with the same sort of equipment, as you can see. But it also comes with an instruction manual, which might be helpful with operating these devices, especially if you haven't used a sort of scan tool like this before. So all of this stuff comes velcroed in, which is very useful in keeping it sort of organized if you like that. So we can unzip here. And as you can see, this tool is a bit more one-handed. I'd say you could use it in one-handed operation, which helps with, when you're using it inside of a car. So as you can see, the CG680 Pro here has more of a sort of vertical orientation, which means you can use it probably more likely one-handed, which will, it will ease up the use of the device in the car. Whereas this one has more of a horizontal orientation. It usually would take two hands to operate as the buttons are separated. Whereas you can see the buttons are in this sort of vertical orientation here. And as you can see, the screens are a little bit bigger on the CGSulit, probably around like an inch bigger on the CGSulit, which will help with usability. CGSulit comes with the same sort of connectors as we can see in the CR+. So we've got our OBD2 connector, and we've also got our micro USB, or I think that's a mini USB. So the initial feel of the devices is quite good. The CR+ seems to have more of a sort of rubberized texture, which helps with grip and obviously usability. And the buttons are also rubberized, and they're quite nice. They feel quite solid and rigid, and they seem like they would hold up over time, especially in a sort of mechanics workshop workplace. But maybe at home you probably won't be wearing them down too much. But over here on the CGSulit, they're quite loud clicks. Quite solid feedback, but it feels a little cheaper. Alright, that's enough about the exterior. We'll get some power into these inside the house and take a look at the interface. Alright, so I'm using the supplied mini USB cable that came with both these devices, and I've just got it plugged into my laptop here just to power this device while we're inside the house. And I'm just going to plug it in. It's got that little mini USB here. We'll plug that in and just wait for it to boot up here. Alright, as you can see, we're into the interface now. Alright, so we've got it booted up here, and the interface looks clean, and I think the icons can really tell you what you're trying to do. It really helps with people who are, DIY and don't know exactly what they need to do with this device. And again, those buttons are really clicky, which is good, it's engaging, but it also beeps as well, and I think we can turn that off later, but it's a little bit annoying, but I think that's okay. So as you can see, we've got a fair bit of features here. We've got our history, auto VIN, OBD2, diagnostic, our maintenance, settings, data manager, and our update. And I'm sure with the update for these things, as they don't have an internal Wi-Fi, you kind of plug them into your laptop and go through the updates through using your laptop's Wi-Fi. So what we can take a look at while we're here, we can take a look at our settings. and we just press the tick here to enter. And as you can see, we can change our language here. We can change the unit of measurements. So obviously in our cars, we're going to be using sort of pressure measurements and temperature measurements and stuff like that. So we can change it between imperial and metric there. We've got our shortcuts, and that can change what these F1, F2, and F3 buttons do. So as you can see, they're all set to OBD2 at the moment, but we can change that so that you can sort of shortcut pressing into the diagnostics and pressing into our OBD2 tools and stuff like that. We've got our beep set, luckily, so we can change that there. We can turn our beep off and on. We might turn that off for this review. All right, there you go. That's much more silent. We've got our display test, our keypad test, and our about.
Yeah, so we'll stop it there.
Alright, so as like most of these scan tools, we've got 3 ways that we can really get into the car and scan its OBD2 protocols. So we've got auto VIN, and what that does is it automatically searches your car for the VIN, and that means that it can automatically find the manufacturer type and then scan the exact codes to that manufacturer. So we'll go back here. We've got OBD2, and that's for sort of generic OBD2 scanning. So that doesn't include sort of manufacturer protocols. That's just generic OBD2. And then we'll go into diagnostic, and that's where we can pick the specific manufacturer. So like the car we're going to be doing today, we can go in here and take a look at our manufacturer, which will be down the bottom at Suzuki. All right, and then I won't press enter here, but you just enter into the Suzuki, and that's where it will, you'll scan your specific manufacturer OBD2. All right, so we're going to plug the power in and just take a look at the software here. So as you can see, it goes into the upgrade mode, but luckily we've done the newest update on it. So we're just going to press back here and go into the main software. Awesome, so once it's loaded up, we see that we have the main screen here. We've got diagnostics, we've got service, voltage, DTC lookup, review, OBD2, EOBD, setups, help, and about. So there's 2 ways that we can really get into the OBD2 protocol on the car. We've got our diagnostics, and we've got our OBD2 EOBD. So if we enter the diagnostics here, that's where we pick the sort of manufacturer that we're scanning. So as you can see, we've got universal amounts of manufacturers here. And we're going to be taking a look at a Suzuki later today. So what we'll do is we'll go down, and you'll see Suzuki there, and we'll hit enter when we're in the car and do the automatic VIN selection, and that'll be how we scan for manufacturer specific OBD2 codes. Another way we can is go into the OBD2 EOBD tool, and that scans for sort of generic OBD2 protocol. So that won't come up with any of the sort of manufacturer specific codes. So I'm not going to press enter here right now, because it will scan through all of the protocols until it finds the right one, and obviously we're not plugged into a car. So as you can see, we've also got the service menu here, and the service menu is for DIYers, but also for mechanics to reset sort of service codes and reset, as you can see here, we've got the oil reset, so if you need to do your oil service. We've got EPB, we've got our sort of battery service, battery reset, so you can sync that up to your car. We've got the DPF code, the SAS, and the ETC. So we've got voltage over here, and that's just so you can test the voltage of your battery. Right now we're plugged into a laptop, so it's testing the voltage of my laptop. We've got our review, and I believe that's reviewing our saved codes. DTC lookup is actually a really useful tool. What we do is we go in and we enter P420, we press enter, and as you can see, it tells us what that code is. So that's about all we can do with these interfaces from outside the vehicle, but we'll go run them on some test vehicles out there and see how they go. Alright, well now we're in the Suzuki Swift Sport 2009, and we're plugged into the OBD2 port now, and we're just going to go into diagnostics and see what we can find. So we'll go down to Suzuki here, it's at the bottom of the list, we'll press enter there, press enter on the version. So what we found with the iCarSoft CR Plus is it doesn't seem to have the ability to find your car's manufacturer via the VIN. So we found with our other, the CG680 Pro, is it had the automatic VIN feature, and that found the Suzuki quite fast. And it meant that we didn't need to know the manufacturing details, like where this vehicle was produced, the engine code, things like that. So with the iCarSoft here, we have to know which market it was produced. Go into passenger car, we go down here, find our Swift and where the Swift is at here. And then it also doesn't do sort of a thorough all vehicle scan. We have to go in here to powertrain and then pick the exact module that we want to scan. And then we pick our engine type, so we're the 1.6 litre M16A, and then the Japan market. Alright, so we'll do read fault code, and there you go. So we've got a P0420 fault code, and that's the catalytic system efficiency threshold bank 1 code. So what I've found with the iCarSoft is it seems to like the generic sort of OBD2 scanning much more preferably than the manufacturer specific diagnostics tool. So what we'll do, we'll go down to this OBD2 EOBD, and it runs through all the different protocols and it finds the vehicle. And there you go, it shows our MIL status is on, our codes found is 2, monitor completed 7, monitor not completed 0, monitor not supported 3, ignition type spark, protocol type KWP. So we'll press enter, and that lets us go in to read all of the codes that it's found. So we'll go read codes, and as you can see, it finds the same code as we found before. It says catalyst system efficiency below threshold. So that's a P0420 code. It also found a pending code of the same type. Awesome. And down here we can also find our live data. We can press all supported. So now we've got 19 different live data that we can view on this, and look at all of the sensors that this car has on at the moment. So 19 different live codes that we can view. We've got distance traveled while MIL is activated. So I've been traveling 500 kilometers with this engine light on, just for this video. Alright, so now we've got the CGSulit CG680 Pro plugged in, and we'll just take a look at the sort of similarities and differences between the CG680 and the CR Plus. So what we found here with the CGSulit CG680 Pro is it seems to have a more robust advanced feature set with sort of module actuation and service interval resets here in the maintenance section. So we've got about 2 to 3 pages worth of actuations, whereas on the CR Plus, as you saw earlier in the video, is there was only about 6 different advanced features that it could really do, whereas this has a lot of different features, and that's really helpful for a sort of DIYer who's just trying to buy one specific device to do everything that they need it to do. Alright, so what we're aiming to do now is to actually get this engine code cleared. So what we found with the CGSulit CG680 is the AutoVIN feature doesn't really work with this specific Suzuki. We went in and searched for it, and it said failed the process. So we've come out, and we're just going to go through the diagnostic here. We're going to go through Asia, down to Suzuki. We're going to do Smart VIN. And there you go, it's found the specific manufacturer, and that's really helpful. The other AutoVIN doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure why that is, but this feature does work. So we'll press OK there, F1, and we'll do quick scan. We'll press F3 for all DTC. And what I really like about the CG680 is it scans through the entire system in one go. We don't have to go through the individual settings, the individual modules to find out what codes are wrong or what codes pop up. It does a thorough scan, and I really enjoy that feature. It makes it much easier, especially when you're a DIYer and you really don't know about all the different modules that could be wrong. It really helps that this system does it automatically and scans through all of the system. So we'll check back later when this is done scanning. And as you can see, we've got 3 different fault codes at the moment. One in engine powertrain, one in BCM, or the body control module, and our immobilizer or keyless system. So we'll go into our engine module, go read codes, And we found the same codes as we found on the CR Plus here. The P0420 code, the catalyst system efficiency below threshold. So we'll clear that a bit later, but we'll take a look at these other fault codes. So we'll go into the body control module and go read codes. So it's found a history code, so it's not current, a B1150, which is airbag communication circuit malfunction. So it seems to be a historic code, which means this car did once have that code, but it has since been gone and it hasn't come back since. But with these sort of more complex tools, we're able to clear these historic codes, whereas with the CR Plus over there, it didn't seem like it came up with any sort of historic codes. Maybe we didn't search thoroughly enough, but this one seemed to have found it. So now that we've done that scan, we can erase all of the codes at once with this sort of erase F1 feature. So we'll come down here and press F1. It says, are you sure you want to clear? We'll press F3. And there you go, and everything's clear, and now we do not have an engine code anymore. And that's awesome. So now we're able to diagnose what's really going wrong with this car and see if we've fixed any problems with anything that we've done mechanically. So we can take this for a drive and even leave it plugged in and see if we get any further fault codes. So that's definitely done its job, and very easily and simply. And for me, as much as I know a little bit about cars as a DIYer, it's really helpful to have these, scan tools that can scan all of the modules at once. So you don't really need to have that sort of intimate technical knowledge to be able to diagnose your car. Unlike with this sort of CR Plus, where you have to go through into the specific modules.